Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the next session on Python programming language. So in the previous session, we have seen the topics algorithms. So as all we know that an algorithm is a step-by-step process, and at the same time, an algorithm is independent to programming languages. Till now, we don't enter into the Python concepts. We are only here with some of the basic concepts which are given in the syllabus of our university. So in the previous session, we have covered the topic of algorithms, which is independent to the languages. And at the same time, in today's session, we are going to cover about modern computer systems. So this topic is also not related to Python, but it is a common topic for all the computer science students, right? So I welcome you all to this session, and we are going to discuss about modern computer systems. So let us see what are the things which are there in this modern computer systems. Under this topic of modern computer systems, we are going to see about the hardware architecture of a computer, and then we are going to see about the data representation. And if still there is time, we can cover what is a software and what is an operating system, right? So these are the three topics we are going to cover in this session. I think if time exists, we will cover the third one, or else we will close with the hardware architecture and data representation topics, right? So let us start the things with the data representation. So let us see the basic thing of hardware architecture. See the point. A computer system is basically a machine that simplifies the complicated task. So there are many tasks in present day world. So among all those tasks, there may be some simple tasks and there may be some complicated. So by using computer system, we can solve a problem. We can solve a complicated problem in a very easy manner. So what are the things we need to consider while performing a complicated task in an easy manner? In the sense, it should maximize the performance, so the performance should be higher, and then the cost and power consumption should be lower. And then the following are the different components in a computer system architecture. So this is the basic thing what we have studied in the previous classes, right? So here the main hardware components of a computer system are input unit, output unit, storage, arithmetical logical unit, and control unit, etc. So I think most of you are very familiar with these names. So this is the block diagram of a hardware architecture of a computer. As we seen earlier, these are the 5 units of an computer hardware architecture, right? Input, output, storage, arithmetical logical unit, where we call it as ALU, and then control unit, right? So let us see about each and every unit in detail. So let us start the things with the input unit, right? Before going to see about the input unit, let us cover these 2 points. So the input data travels from input unit to arithmetic unit. So as we seen in the block diagram, so the input data is going to be traveled from input unit to the arithmetical logical unit. And at the same time, the output data will be carried from ALU to the output unit, right? So this is what the point says here. The input data travels from the input unit to the ALU. Similarly, the computed data travels from ALU to the output data. And then keeping this input unit, ALU and output unit apart, the data continuously moves from storage unit to ALU and back again. So here for doing any calculations or for doing any things, the data will be moved continuously in between storage unit and arithmetical logical unit. So if there is a problem, or there is a, for example, there is an addition of two numbers, ALU will request the three variables. So the three variables will be taken from the storage unit. So after the operation is performed, the resultant will be again stored in the storage unit. So this is how the data will be continuously, data will flow continuously between storage unit and arithmetical logical unit. And then, so this is because stored data is computed on before being stored again. So when there is some data which is stored in the storage unit, after storing the data again, it will be computed by the arithmetical logical unit. And then the control units will control all other units always, as well as their data. So here we have discussed about the input unit, where the data will travel from input unit to ALU, and the data will travel from ALU to output unit. And at the same time, the data will be interchanged between arithmetical logical unit and storage unit. And apart from these four things, there is one more thing called as control unit in the hardware architecture of a computer. This control unit will control all the other units as well as the data, right? So this is the brief introduction regarding the hardware architecture of a computer. And then later, now we can see each and every unit in detail. So let us start the things with the input unit. So the input unit provides data so the computer system to the computer system from the outside. So basically it links the external environment with the computer. It takes the data from input devices, convert into machine language, and then loads into the computer system. So for example, computer systems never understand your numbers, or never understand your words, or never understand your letters. The computer systems only understands machine level language, that is in the form of zeros and ones. For example, if you type A, right, if you type A in the keyboard, that will be converted into a combination of ones and zeros. It depends upon the type of system we are using. And if you represent anything like if you represent like A, B, C, that will be converted into equivalent ones and zeros according to the numbering system of the computer system, right? So computers never understand your language. Computers only understand a language called as machine language. And the machine language, in the sense, it is a combination of ones and zeros, right? So what they are saying is, here is, it takes the data from the input devices. So input devices means we have a lot of input devices called as optical scanner, keyboard, mouse, etc. Right? So all the data will be converted into machine language. So if you type A, or if you type B, if you type C, or if you type Z, that will be converted into equivalent machine level language. If you type A, it will be converted into equivalent ones and zeros. And if you type something other than ones and zeros, it will be converted into ones and zeros. And then the machine level language loads into the computer system, right? These are some of the examples of input devices, keyboard and mouse. And we call them as two most commonly used input devices. So for any basic computer system also, these two will exist, right? So the things from which we take the input are called as input devices, right? What the input unit will do is, it will take the inputs from the input devices, and then it will convert the inputs into the equivalent machine level language, and then it will load the inputs into the computer system, right? So next one, let us see about the output devices, output unit. So what this output unit will do is, it will provide the result of computer process to the users. So once the result is computed by the computer system, and the result will be displayed on the output devices. So the displaying of result, or the taking of result from the computer process and displaying the result on the output devices, will be taken care by this output unit, right? So it links the computer with the external environment. Previously, we have seen that it links the external environment to the computer, that is input unit. So here it links the computer with the external environment. This is output unit. So most of the output data is in the form of audio or video. So there are different output devices. Monitor is the best example of an output device. Printer is an output device where we can get some printouts, and then speakers. The audio output will be from the speakers and headphones, etc. So these are some of the following output devices we regularly use, right? So here, the external environment, right? The computer, the output unit will links the computer with the external environment, right? Next one, storage unit, one of the important units in hardware architecture. So here, this storage unit contains many computer components, right? So all these computer components are used to store the data. So there are many components under the storage unit, right? All these things are used to store the data, right? So traditionally, these storage components are divided into two categories, right? Traditionally, there are two categories of storage devices. Those are primary storage, and the second one is secondary storage, right? So this primary storage is called as main memory, or we can call it as RAM, right? And it is the memory which is directly accessible by the CPU. So if this is CPU, so CPU will have direct access with the main memory, right? CPU will have direct access with the main memory. And there is one more memory traditionally called as secondary memory. Secondary memory will not be accessed by the CPU directly. If you want to access the secondary memory, this secondary memory, a part of secondary memory will be loaded into the main memory, and that may from the main memory, CPU will get access. CPU will get access from the main memory, right? So it will never access the secondary memory directly, right? There is no access of secondary memory from the CPU directly. So see here, see the points. Primary storage is also known as main memory. So the other name for the primary storage is main memory, and it is a memory which is directly accessible by the CPU. And then secondary, or we can call the secondary as an external storage. There are quite different. External storages means we have USBs, that means pen drives, or external hard disk. So they all come under the external storage. Whereas basically in a computer system, the secondary memory means a hard disk of the computer system. So in depth, they are different, but let us primarily focus on these two traditional types, primary memory and secondary memory, where the primary memory is called as main memory, and the secondary memory may be a hard disk or a pen drive or an external hard disk or some other things, right? So this secondary is not directly accessible by the CPU, right? So the data from the secondary storage needs to be brought into the primary storage. So if the computer system wants to access the data which was present in the secondary storage, it cannot access the data directly. Now, what the computer system have to do is it has to bring the data from the secondary storage device to the primary storage device so that it can be accessible by the CPU. So the storage needs to brought into the primary storage before the CPU can use it. Next one, secondary storage contains large amount of data permanently. So here, see the memory is divided into two categories, right? Two categories, primary memory and secondary memory. So we call this primary memory as main memory and secondary memory as external memory. So here it can be directly accessible by the CPU, but it cannot be directly accessed by the CPU. It is of very less amount of data. Primary memory represents less amount of data, and secondary memory represents more amount of data. And it is a mutable memory. It is an immutable memory. So mutable memory in the sense, whenever the power goes off, the memory in this will be deleted. Immutable means whenever the power goes off, the memory will not be deleted. That means the memory inside the secondary storage will be permanent until and unless we delete that memory. Until and unless we delete the memory, the data will never go away from the secondary storage. But in the primary storage, it is mutable. Whenever the power goes off, the entire data inside the main memory will get deleted. Right? So it is not permanent, it is temporary. Next one. So this is all about the storage unit. Arithmetic logic unit. So all the calculations related to the computer system are performed by this unit. So if you give any two variables or any symbol, all the calculations will be taken care by this arithmetic logical unit, right? So it can perform. So these are the some of the basic operations that are performed by this ALU. So it can perform operations like the basic things called as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? Modulo division, etc. And at the same time, the control unit transfers data from storage unit to arithmetic logical unit when the calculations need to be performed. So whenever there is need of calculations, the control unit will take care of transferring the data from the storage unit to the arithmetical logical unit. So if arithmetical logical units want to perform certain calculations, it needs some data. So the data will be taken from the storage unit. So the transferring of data from storage unit to the arithmetical logical unit in order to perform a calculation. So the transferring of data responsibility will be taken care by the control unit, right? And the arithmetical logical unit and the control unit together form the central processing unit. So basically, whenever we call the computer system, many of us will say CPU, central processing unit. So CPU can contains mainly two parts. Those are a control unit and arithmetical logical unit, where this arithmetical logical unit is used to perform certain task, and control unit will take care of the transferring the data from storage unit to the ALU. And when the calculations are completed, again, it will transfer the data from ALU to the storage unit. And at the same time, control unit is responsible to control all the remaining units, that is input unit and output unit, ALU and storage unit also, right? So together, this control unit and ALU can be called as an central processing unit. And last but not the least, control unit. So this unit controls all the other units of the computer system, and so is known as its central nervous system. So we can call this control unit as a central nervous system because it is going to control all the other units of a computer system. It transfers the data throughout the computer as required, including from storage unit to central processing unit, and from central processing unit to storage unit. And the control unit also dictates how the memory, input devices, arithmetical logical units, etc. should behave. So the entire behavior of all the other units of the computer hardware architecture are controlled by this control unit. So we call this as a central nervous system, right? Every nerve will be controlled from this unit, right? So this is all about the hardware architecture of a computer. Now, just remember the points. We have total 5 parts in the hardware architecture, right? Input unit, where we take the inputs and those inputs will be converted into machine code. And then output unit, so where the outputs are displayed over the screen or over the printer or etc., where the outputs will be taken by the outputs will be taken from the ALU and they will be displayed in the respected display units. And then storage unit will have certain storage called as primary storage and secondary storage, right? And then arithmetical logical units, where the calculations will be taken care. Control units, which control all the parts of the computer system. the controls unit and arithmetical logical unit together called as a central processing unit. So this is all what we have seen so far, right? And then under the modern computer systems topic, right, under the modern computer systems topic, we have completed the hardware architecture. Now we are going to see about the data representation, how the data will be represented in the computer system, and what are the different formats of data representation, and how the representation of data has been changed over the years, etc. All these things will be covered in this topic. So let us start the things with the let us see what is the representation of data. So here the first and most important point one all should remember is that computers never understand human language. So they will not understand your language, they will not understand your mother tongue, or they will not understand any of your human languages, right? Any data, right? Any data, for example, letters, which means small a to z or capital A to z, symbols, at the rate, dollar symbol or hash symbol, right? Percentage symbol, etc. And then pictures, audio, videos, etc. fed into the computer system, right? Fed into the computer system. So computer never understand human language. At the same time, computers never understand your letters, your symbols, your pictures, your audio, video, etc. So once when you fed these things, when you fed letters or symbols or audio or video into the computer system, they will be converted into machine level language first. So if you fed an audio file into the computer system, that audio file will be converted into a combination of ones and zeros. If you store a video file, that will be converted into ones and zeros. So here, anything you fed into the computer system, that will not be represented in the form which you fed into the computer system. That will be converted into some other form called as machine level language, which is in the combination of ones and zeros. So here, computer represents the data in mainly three forms. So the representation of data can be number system, bits and bytes, text code. So let us see each and everything in detail. So keep the 2 points in your mind. It will never understand anything. It will only understand ones and zeros. So the data representation in computers will be in any three form, in any of the form. That is either number system or bits and bytes or text code. So let us see what is number system, and then we can see about the bits and bytes and text code. Number system. So we are introduced to concept of numbers from a very early age. So to a computer, everything is a number. That is, it may be an alphabet or a picture or a sound, etc. All are numbers for the computer system. So number system is categorized, again, number system is categorized into three types. So we have seen earlier, data representation is divided into three categories: number system, right? Bits and bytes. And the third one is text code. The third one is text code, right? So data representation can be of can be of three types: number system, bits and bytes, text code. Again, this number system is categorized into four parts, four types, right? That is binary number system, octal number system, decimal number system, and hexadecimal number system. So remember all these types of numbering systems, right? Although all these things are basics, but we need to remember it, right? We need to have all these things in our mind, right? So here, there are four types of these numbering systems are categorized into four types, right? Four types: binary number system, and then octal, decimal, and last one is hexadecimal number system. See here, binary system consists of only two values. So there are only two values in the binary system. The two values are either 0 or 1. And then when we represent the data using an octal number system, octal number system consists of only 8 digits to represent any data. And decimal number system consists of 10 digits to represent any data. And at the same time, hexadecimal number consists of 16 digits, right? So each and every value in the hexadecimal will be represented in the form of 16 digits, right? Let us see in detail about what is a binary number and what is a binary number system, what is an octal number system, what is a decimal number system, and what is a hexadecimal number system. Let us start the things with let us see about these 4 types of numbering systems. So here in binary system, the base value of a number will be represented by 2, right? And the digits in the binary system are 0 and 1. When we represent an octal number, when we represent a number in the form of octal system, then the base value will be considered as 8. And these are the digits which are in the octal number system, right? Those are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then decimal number system means we are representing a digit or a number with base 10. And these are the 10 numbers that a decimal number system will contain: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And at the same time, hexadecimal number means we are representing a number with base 16 along with these 10 numbers, right? Along with these 10 numbers, this hexadecimal number contain A to F letters also. So this is the number system where it is divided into 4 categories: binary, octal, decimal, and hexadecimal. Binary means base 2, it contains either 0 or 1. Octal means base 8, it contains 0 to 7. Decimal means base 10, it contains the numbers from 0 to 9. Hexadecimal means base 16. Along with this 0 to 9, that means 10 numbers, it also contains 5 alphabets, not 6 alphabets, A to F. Right? So next one, let us see what is the data representation in the form of bits and bytes. Right? So remember this one, a bit is the smallest possible unit of data that a computer can recognize or use. Computer usually uses bits in groups, right? A bit means it is the smallest possible unit, right? A bit means it is the smallest possible unit of data that a computer can recognize, right? In the bit, we will have either 1, or in a bit, we will have 0. So it is the smallest part, it is the smallest possible unit of data where we can store either 1 or 0. So computers generally uses bits in groups. So it is 1 bit, and if you represent like this, it is 2 bits. If you represent like this, 3 bits, 4 bits. So this is called as group of bits. So let us see how these group of bits are categorized. See here, if 8 bits are combined, see here, if 8 bits are combined, then it is called as 1 byte, right? So if 8 bits are combined, it is called as 1 byte. So 1 byte means there will be total 8 bits. There will be total 8 bits. In each and every bit, we can store a value. That value may be either 1 or 0. Other than that 1 or 0, it cannot store any value. So a bit is the smallest possible unit of data. A byte is a group of data which consists of 8 bits. Right? A byte is a group of data which consists of 8 bits. Next one, let us see the how this representation will be done in the form of bits and bytes. Right? You all are aware of up to, I think, gigabytes, GB. Right? When you are see here, 1 byte equal to 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So when we combine 8 bits, right? When we combine 8 bits into a group, right, then it is called as a byte, right? It is called as byte. When we combine 1024 bytes, then it is called as kilobyte. We call it as 1 KB. So while seeing some images, it will represent as 10 KB or 40 KB, 50 KB, which in turn contains each and every 1 KB means 10,024 bytes. Each and every byte means it is of 8 bits. And at the same time, 1024 KB is called as 1 megabyte, which is called as 1 MB. I think you will see megabytes while you are copying songs. Each and every song will be represented as 5 MB, 6 MB, or 10 MB, or some files may be represented with 8 MB, 10 MB, right? Each and every MB means 1 megabyte. MB means megabyte. 1 MB is equivalent to 1024 KB, right? You can write here 1 byte equal to 8 bits, right? 8 bits. 1024 bytes equal to 1 kilobyte KB. 1024 kilobytes equal to 1 megabyte. 1024 megabytes equal to 1 gigabyte, which is called as GB, right? When you are buying a mobile phone, you all see that the RAM size is 3 GB or the internal memory is 64 GB, right? GB means gigabyte, which will comes from the megabytes, combination of 1024 megabytes. When we say 4 GB, which means it is 4 into 1024 MB into 1024 KB, right? So here 1024 megabytes will represent 1 gigabyte. 1024 gigabytes will represent 1 terabyte, right? 1024 terabytes represents 1 petabyte. 1024 petabytes represents 1 exabyte. 1024 exabytes will represents 1 zettabyte. 1024 zettabytes will represents 1 yottabyte. 1024 yottabytes represents brontobyte, right? And then 1024 brontobytes represents 1 GOP bytes. So this is how the memory will be represented in terms of bits and bytes, right? So here, when we combine 8 bits, it will be 1 byte. 1 bit in the sense, it is the smallest memory units which will it is the smallest memory unit which will store either 1 or 0, right? And at the same time, now let us see how we represent the data in the form of a text code. I think time is running away. So we will cover this topic, representation of the data in the form of text code, in the next class, and then we can cover the software and operating systems. So let us brief the things what we have discussed in today's session. In the previous session, we have discussed about algorithms, right? And in today's session, we have discussed about modern computer systems, where these modern computer systems, under these modern computer systems, we have discussed about the hardware architecture, and then we have started the data representation. So in the hardware architecture, we have discussed about input unit, output unit, and then arithmetical output unit, arithmetical logical unit, control unit, right? And then storage units. And at the same time, under data representation, we have discussed about bits and bytes. And then we have left this text code, and we have completed numbering systems. So in the next class, we are going to see about this what is text code and what are the different popular text codes in present day world. And then we are going to cover about what is a software and what is operating system in the next class. So I hope everyone understands today's class, and I think this is the class of which contains a lot of basics and many of the people already may already know all these things, but it has been given in the syllabus, so I have to explain the things, right? So if you have any doubts regarding this topic, you can post a comment in the comment section of this video. And I really thank each and every listener of this video for being here from the last 40 minutes. And I hope you grab some knowledge from this session. And I request all the people to please stay at home and stay safe, right? And we will meet you in the next session.